The moment we wear it, our spirits lift. It helps us grow strong in body and in mind. As we wear it, we learn patience and respect. The belt system motivates students to strive harder and continue growing. This uniform shapes movement into grace and turns performance into something thrilling. Now, embraced around the world, Taekwondo shares our culture, philosophy, and values with pride and spirit. Though it may seem simple, this uniform holds your passion and your journey. It belongs to Taekwondo. Wear the extraordinary. Be with Taekwondo.
President Lee Jae-myung and U.S. President Donald Trump held their second summit talks in Gyeongju, where he asked Trump to allow Seoul to secure fuel for nuclear-powered submarines. Meanwhile, a summit between North Korea's Kim Jong-un and Trump now appears unlikely. And at the APEC CEO Summit, President Lee touted that South Korea, as the chair of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Group, will lead the way in multilateral cooperation to face crises. BTS RM also addressed the CEO Summit, the first K-pop artist to do so. The number of newborns in South Korea went up for the 14th straight month in August. Additionally, a record number of couples tied the knots during the same month. APEC Diplomatic Super Week is well underway in South Korea's southeastern city of Gyeongju. And just hours ago, President Lee Jae-myung hosted his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump. We go live to the International Media Center in Gyeongju, where our Presidential Office correspondent Yoon Jung-min is standing by. Jung-min, how did the meeting go?
Tammy, so the second summit between Presidents Lee Jae-myung and Donald Trump, following the first in Washington 2 months ago, began with a handshake, a traditional welcome, and a photo session at a national museum here in Gyeongju. The U.S. leader was awarded with the Grand Order of Mugunghwa, the nation's highest decoration for his role as a peacemaker on the Korean Peninsula. No American leader has received such an award. Trump was also presented with a replica of a royal golden crown, a trademark of the ancient Silla kingdom, which used to be based in Gyeongju, hoping for a new era of a peaceful coexistence. Take a look.
한국과 미국 간의 새로운 시대를 위해.
Absolutely. That's right. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Seoul's top office says Trump's visit carries significance in that a reciprocal exchange has been completed within just 147 days since Lee's inauguration, which is the shortest interval in history. Trump landed in Korea this morning later than expected for his 2-day state visit to South Korea, and the meeting was pushed back by about an hour.
Now, Jung-min, let's delve deeper into the summit itself. What were the key takeaways from the summit?
So we are learning that the allies have reached a trade deal. Presidential Policy Chief Kim Jong-un just announced that the two sides have narrowed key differences over how to organize details of the $350 billion investment to be made by Seoul. As for the investment worth $200 billion, the amount that Seoul will pay in cash will be capped at $20 billion a year, so that it does not impose a significant risk on South Korea's foreign exchange market. As a result, the U.S. tariffs on South Korea will be lowered from 25% to 15%, including those on cars. We are still learning about the details, so I will bring more updates later on. Earlier in the afternoon, President Lee started the one-on-one by mentioning a possible meeting between the American leader and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, which will not happen this time. Take a listen.
김정은 위원장과의 회담을 요청을 하고 언제든지 받아들일 수 있다라고 말씀하신 것은 그 자체만으로도 이 한반도에 상당한 평화의 온기를 만들어내는 것이기도 합니다.
I know Kim Jong-un very well. We get along very well. We really weren't able to work out timing. It may take a little time. You have to have a little patience.
He also asked Trump to allow South Korea to secure fuel used for nuclear power submarines to better tackle increasing threats. Seoul has been seeking to revise the allies' nuclear energy pact to secure more capacity in reprocessing spent fuel and enriching uranium for non-military purposes. He also noted the need to modernize the alliance and increase Korea's defense spending as he vowed for greater investment in the U.S. Trump responded by expressing hopes for greater cooperation with Korea in shipbuilding. Back to you, Dami.
All right, Jung-min, thanks for that coverage today. We appreciate it. And as part of U.S. President Donald Trump's official state visit, President Lee Jae-myung hosted a special dinner on Wednesday evening in Gyeongju in honor of the American president and other state leaders.
세계가 매우 여러 가지 측면에서 복합적으로 위기를 겪고 있기는 하지만 이런 때일수록 각 국가 간의 연대와 협력이 매우 중요하지 않을까 생각합니다. 세계의 평화와 국가 간 연대를 위하여. Cheers.
I just want to thank you for your hospitality, Mr. President. It's been great, and it's an honor, and we'll be back, and we'll see you again.
And alongside President Trump, the guests were the leaders of 6 APEC member economies: Vietnam, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Thailand, and Singapore. And a major business forum is also being held in Gyeongju on the sidelines of the APEC leaders meeting, where not only world leaders but also global CEOs and key figures in innovative technology come together for discussions. Our correspondent Moon Jeong has more on the APEC CEO Summit.
보호무역주의와 자국 우선주의가 고개를 들며 당장의 생존이 시급한 시대에 협력과 상생, 포용적 성장이라는 말이 공허하게 들릴지도 모르겠습니다. 그렇지만 이러한 위기 상황일수록 역설적으로 연대의 플랫폼인 APEC의 역할이 더욱 빛을 발할 것입니다. 20년 전 APEC에 단결된 의지를 모아냈던 대한민국이 다시 APEC의 의장국으로서 위기에 맞설 다자주의적 협력의 길을 선도하려고 합니다.
This powerful message was delivered by South Korean President Lee Jae-myung at the APEC CEO Summit, which officially commenced on Wednesday. President Lee also noted that Korea is working to establish the so-called AI highway, a cross-sectoral infrastructure and ecosystem for AI, along with legal frameworks to ensure the responsible use of the technology. Hosted by the Korea Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the APEC CEO Summit featured U.S. President Donald Trump, who delivered a special speech referring to Korea as a cherished American friend and a close ally.
We're serious partners. We're wedded, and we have a very special relationship, a special bond, and we're going to have a very thriving shipbuilding industry, and we're working it with South Korea.
Another highlight was the highly anticipated appearance by RM, the leader of the 7-member boy band BTS. He shared his insights on the cultural creative industry in the APEC region.
K-pop's success came from respecting diversity and embracing world cultures, but still holding on to Korea's unique identity. When you think about investing in tomorrow's generations, think about culture as well as economics. Culture and art are a powerful force that moves hearts. They are the fastest messengers that carry diversity and resonance. As the leaders of APEC, your policies and support will be the canvas and playground for all the creators.
While a diverse range of topics was covered, artificial intelligence clearly emerged as a key phrase that made its way into all discussions. Executives from global tech giants Meta Platforms and Amazon Web Services highlighted that agentic and wearable AI are the next steps for artificial intelligence, a technology already rapidly transforming the world. The head of the OECD also underscored AI's potential to boost labor productivity in Asia-Pacific economies over the coming decade, advocating for strong policy support to expand access to related technology. With over 1,700 business leaders in attendance, the summit aims to foster collaboration and innovation in the Asia-Pacific region. 문지영, Arirang News, Gyeongju.
And with sustainability at the heart of all discussions taking place at APEC for the region's economic growth, climate-related officials held talks in Gyeongju to exchange ideas on aligning energy policies. We covered the closed-door event with this exclusive by our Oh Seong.
Climate ambassadors from East Asia called for a combined platform to advance carbon reduction policies together as a way to drive resilient regional growth in the Asia-Pacific. Organised by the Global Green Growth Institute, the closed-door session gathered high-level officials from South Korea, Japan and China and the Association of Southeast Asian Countries to discuss energy transition, decarbonising industries and carbon markets. The roundtable took place in Gyeongju, ahead of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum in the same city this week. The International Energy Agency says the Asia-Pacific will account for half of the world's electricity consumption by this year, with growth in power demand also outpacing the global average. This calls for a significant shift from fossil fuels such as coal, gas and oil towards low-carbon sources of energy. Speakers noted the need for Korea, Japan and China to take the lead in sharing technology, resources and policies in the face of new challenges and opportunities such as artificial intelligence.
Because we know that artificial intelligence, its data center can add some pressure on our decarbonization efforts, but also we think it can be a solution as well. So it can increase the energy efficiency and also enhance the energy management system.
The three countries are the centers of the research and development and also innovation and also the leaders in terms of energy-related technologies which are essential for decarbonization.
Aligning carbon pricing mechanisms was another key topic. To motivate businesses and consumers to cut polluting activities, countries are increasingly adopting a market-based approach to cut emissions and seeking new ways to finance green tech and infrastructure amid tighter government budgets.
CJK stands for China, Japan, Korea, or Korea, Japan, and China, and Asian countries, which account for more than 1/3 of the global economy and more than 40% of global carbon emission. But the problem is even though we are developing individual carbon market, the markets are not interoperable, like the case of EU. So how can we enhance cooperation in the carbon market?
The dialogue session directly supports the APEC 2040 vision, which identifies sustainable and inclusive economic growth as a core driver for regional prosperity. Looking forward, Korea, Japan and China plan to continue their high-level discussions to share and cooperate on climate policies in a trilateral format between their governments. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News, Gyeongju.
And now, from mobile, a form factor or shape that can be folded twice to new generations of high bandwidth and memory chips. The K-Tech Showcase brings together the future of Korean technology down in Gyeongju. Our business correspondent Park Jun-an was there.
To attract business leaders and exhibitors interested in South Korea's technology, the country's tech giants such as Samsung Electronics and SK hynix held a K-Tech showcase here in Gyeongju. This outdoor air-dome pavilion at the Gyeongju Expo Grand Park serves as an official side event of the APEC CEO Summit Korea 2025, showcasing Korea's digital leadership and future technology capabilities. Here, at the APEC 2025 in Gyeongju, Samsung Electronics has unveiled its trifold display, the company's first mobile form factor that can be folded not just once, but twice. SK Group, along with promoting new products such as the high bandwidth memory for a semiconductor, opened a booth that showcased its AI ecosystem centered on data centers that serve as the core infrastructure for AI.
You can explore various technologies and solutions essential for running AI data centers, including advanced memory chips and system innovations. SK Group is building AI data centers in partnership with the cities of Ulsan and Seoul. Our goal is to secure 300 megawatts of capacity by 2030, paving the way to become a global hub beyond South Korea.
The 4-day event, which began on Tuesday, will run through 6 p.m. Friday. Park Jun-an, Arirang News, Gyeongju.
Staying in Gyeongju, many cultural events are also taking place across the city. One that stands out, especially at the nighttime, is a media art event where visitors can enjoy the city's night view to the fullest. For more, we have our culture correspondent Park Kwon-woo standing by live at one of the venues in Gyeongju. Welcome, Kwon-woo.
Evening, Dami.
So, Kwon-woo, what's the atmosphere like tonight down in Gyeongju?
Honestly, Dami, it's freezing here. My hands are freezing, feet are freezing, and my breath, it's no joke. But it's like living through history here down in Gyeongju, especially as Gyeongju once served as the capital of the Silla dynasty, one of Korea's ancient kingdoms, with a history of over 1,000 years. And after I got dressed up in this traditional attire, a replica of what was worn by people of the Silla dynasty, I feel even more immersed in the media art show here at Daewon, a royal tomb complex where former kings and queens are laid to rest. And those who want to have this immersive experience just like me, you can also try it out after registering during the evening on site on a first-come, first-served basis before the media art show begins. And every 20 minutes from 6:30 p.m. until 10 p.m. each night, what the inside of the tombs looks like is revealed, along with the relics that were discovered inside. The main director says the show has even greater significance.
It's a symbolic space where our cultural roots and spirit come alive. So it goes beyond being just a visual art experience. It's a dialogue with the past and the present. The media art is titled Monghwa, meaning a glowing dream. We aim to make visitors feel as if they were stepping into their dream.
So after the event kicked off last Friday, already over 11,000 people visited and enjoyed themselves.
It's so dazzling and beautiful. I bet this is the first media art show ever held at a tomb anywhere in the world. I wish events like this are held regularly so that the city can grow even further. It'll be a good way to promote Gyeongju to a wider audience.
And even around 1/5 of the total visitors have been foreign nationals, which may mean that many visitors are coming to Gyeongju from near and far alongside the APEC events.
It seems like a beautiful place, Kwon-woo, and it's making me want to visit there myself. Also, I hear that there are other places you can enjoy the night vibe of Gyeongju. Tell us more.
That's right. Aside from the media art show here at this ancient tomb, which runs through November 16th, there are many other heritage sites to explore here in Gyeongju. The oldest ancient observatory within East Asia, called Cheomseongdae, is also hosting a media art show just like this place. And Donggung Palace and Wolji Pond, one of the most popular night view sites in Gyeongju, has a truly stunning night view as much as the daytime scenery. And near the venue for the upcoming APEC leaders meeting, there's even a massive 15-meter glowing egg that's truly breathtaking. This installation was built to commemorate the Shilla Kingdom's legendary founder Pak Hyakgose, who's said to have hatched from an egg. And for more information about all of these cultural events happening down here in Gyeongju, please check out the official website. And that's all I have for you now. Back to you, Dami.
So many to enjoy during the APEC period. Kanu, thanks for connecting with us tonight. South Korea has marked 14 consecutive months of year-on-year increases in its monthly birth rate. On top of that, the number of new marriages in August was also the highest in 8 years. Our Kim Do-yeon has the latest.
The number of newborns in South Korea for August 2025 has been tallied at 20,867. According to the August 2025 Population Trends Report from the Ministry of Data and Statistics on Wednesday, this figure is an increase of 764 or 3.8% from the same month last year. The monthly number of births has now seen year-on-year increases for 14 consecutive months. This figure is the highest for that month in 3 years. Marriages also saw a significant increase, hitting an 8-year high for the month of August. The number of marriages was tallied at 19,449, an 11% increase from the previous year. The ministry analyzed that the rise in marriages and changing perceptions are impacting the birth rate.
The background for the increase in marriages and births appears to be influenced by a positive change in perception towards marriage and childbirth. The continuous increase in marriages can be seen as affecting the increase in newborns.
The total fertility rate, the average number of children a woman is expected to have in her lifetime, was 0.77 for August, up 0.02 from the previous year. In contrast, the number of deaths in August was 28,971, a 9.8% decrease from last year. The number of divorces also fell by 5.5% to 7,196. As deaths outnumbered births, the population saw a natural decrease of 8,105. However, this gap has narrowed compared to the natural decrease of 12,018 recorded in August 2024. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
South Korean chipmaker SK hynix has posted record-breaking earnings for the third quarter, driven by surging demand for high-performance memory semiconductors used in artificial intelligence servers. The company reported an operating profit of around 11.4 trillion won, or more than $7.9 billion. That's an increase of more than 60% from a year earlier. Revenue jumped to around 24.5 trillion won, while net profit more than doubled to 12.6 trillion won. This marks the first time its quarterly profit has exceeded 10 trillion won. And SK hynix expects its strong growth momentum to continue as global companies ramp up investment in AI infrastructure. South Korea kicked off its Advanced Industrial Technology Show at the K-Tech Inside Show 2025. Hosted by the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy, the 3-day event at Ilsan's Kintex highlights the nation's materials, parts, equipment, and core industries. At the opening ceremony on Wednesday, the government recognized 74 individuals for contributions to industrial supply chains. It also designated 15 new leading companies in this sector, which aligns with the national plan to foster 200 such firms by 2030 and developing them into global leaders. A ministry official stated that the administration will expand financial support to strengthen the materials, parts, and equipment sector's competitiveness amid ongoing global supply chain reorganizations. In other news, despite a U.S. brokered ceasefire, Israel carried out a series of airstrikes in Gaza after it accused Hamas of violating the truce and attacking Israeli troops. Lee Seung-ja has more.
Tensions in Gaza flared again on Tuesday, despite an ongoing U.S. brokered ceasefire. Gaza's Civil Defense Agency said Israel carried out a series of airstrikes after accusing Hamas of violating the truce and attacking Israeli troops. At least 2 people were killed when one strike hit a house in Gaza City. The agency said 3 strikes in total were launched, including one near Al-Shifa Hospital. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office confirmed he ordered what it called powerful strikes in response to what Israel says were attacks by Hamas on its soldiers inside Gaza. The latest escalation also comes as Netanyahu revealed that the remains returned by Hamas on Monday were actually body parts belonging to a victim recovered nearly 2 years ago. He called the move a clear violation of the ceasefire agreement and said he would convene military and defense chiefs for an emergency meeting to decide Israel's next steps. Israeli media report possible options include halting humanitarian aid, expanding Israeli control in Gaza, or striking Hamas leadership. 13 hostage bodies are still believed to be in Gaza, and the slow return of those remains is threatening to derail the fragile truce. Hamas has claimed difficulty locating the bodies due to widespread destruction, while Israel accuses the group of deliberately stalling. Lee Seung-ja, Arirang News.
It dropped to below 0 degrees this morning in inland areas and some mountainous areas. The first frost and ice were also observed in the southern parts of the country. However, the temperatures rose quickly during the day and recovered to the previous year's temperatures across the country. For the time being, typical autumn weather with large daily temperature differences will continue. The temperature in Seoul will rise to nearly 20 degrees Celsius during the day tomorrow and Friday. In Gyeongju, where APEC 2025 kicked off today, the temperatures will also rise to nearly 20 degrees under cloudy conditions. Tomorrow morning, Seoul and Gwangju will start off at 8 degrees, Chuncheon, Daejeon, and Gyeongju at 5 degrees. Daily highs will move up to around 20 degrees in most parts of the country. After a mild weekend, the morning temperature in Seoul will plummet to 3 degrees again on Monday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.
Korea, a globally recognized sports powerhouse. Behind the dazzling achievements, there's always an invisible force at work. With sophisticated materials, cutting-edge equipment, and innovative technological solutions, SMEs in the K-sports industry play a vital role in bolstering Korea's status as a sports powerhouse. By integrating AI technology, they unlock athletes' potential and enhance performance, elevating the sports environment to the next level and opening new markets in the sports industry. Their innovative technology and bold challenges drive the growth of Korea's sports industry, creating a better world through sports. The innovation of these SMEs never stops. A systematic partnership support program is implemented to discover promising sports SMEs, provide technical validation and R&D support to enhance competitiveness, and strengthen the foundation for overseas expansion. At Tokyo Sportech 2025, the technological prowess of Korean companies was recognized. The Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism, and the Korea Sports Promotion Foundation supported K-sports companies with product promotion and business consultations with global buyers, demonstrating product quality and market potential, and confirming the possibility of expanding into the global market.
저희는 ICT 강국으로서 그 바이어나 사용자들한테 신기술을 접목한 생활 스포츠 기회를 실질적으로 확대할 수 있는 그 기회를 제공하는 데 많은 도움이 될 수 있으리라고 확신을 합니다.
이제 스포츠도 K죠. K 스포츠는 이겁니다.
The joy for all, created by the power of K-sports. Experience the future of the new sports industry through the innovation and technology of the Korean sports industry.
Lair the Peak.
Welcome to Within the Frame, where we bring the most pressing issues across the globe into focus. I'm Kim Mo-gyan. U.S. President Donald Trump announced that a deal had been reached with South Korea following his 90-minute summit with President Lee Jae-myung in Gyeongju. The presidential office says the agreement includes phased investment and industrial cooperation under what Trump calls MASCA and renewed security coordination. President Lee, meanwhile, pushed forward with calls for nuclear fuel access and deeper strategic alignment. With no joint press conference and regional players watching very closely, how much ground did the two sides actually cover? And how might this set the tone for Seoul's diplomacy moving forward? For a closer look at any developments, we are joined in the studio by Go Myung-hyun, Senior Research Fellow at the Institute for National Security Strategy. A big welcome, Dr. Go.
Good to see you.
And also joining us online is Evans Revere, former Acting Assistant Secretary of State from the U.S. and non-resident senior fellow in the Foreign Policy Program at Brookings. Good to see you.
Great to be with you again.
So let's start with Mr. Revere, of course, with a big picture first. So President Lee Jae-myung and his American counterpart, President Trump, held their second summit this afternoon. I wonder how you made of the overall atmosphere of the meeting today.
Well, the visual images were good. There were lots of smiles, lots of handshakes, lots of warmth in the room, and all of this, I think, is a manifestation of what President Lee has been putting a lot of his energy into, and that is trying to manage Donald Trump, trying to placate him and humor him and honor him, as we saw, in the hope that flattery, some degree of flattery, and some degree of playing to Donald Trump's ego will yield positive results for the relationship between the two countries and, of course, for Korea. So the essence of Korea's approach and President Lee's approach to this interesting dynamic with Donald Trump was on display today. You saw him trying to manage Donald Trump's mood, while also, of course, trying to manage the atmospherics of this major event in the hope that it would have an impact on the substance of the relationship and the outcome of some of the important issues that are on the table between the two countries. It's interesting to look at this summit and look at the previous summit. To a great degree, these two events have been, I would describe them as tactical placeholders, designed to keep the atmosphere as positive as possible, to placate and mollify Donald Trump, as I suggested, while trying to close the number of gaps that exist between Washington and Seoul on a range of issues, trade, security, dealing with China, etc. Obviously, some progress seems to have been made, significant progress seems to have been made on the trade front. The devil will be in the details, though, as we try to hash out what they actually agreed upon, as opposed to the flashy headline that has come out so far. We'll see. But there are other areas of gaps that need to be addressed by the two countries. Both presidents often talk about the need to modernize the alliance, but it's not always clear that they mean the same thing when they talk about modernizing the alliance. So I think there are some gaps there. I think there are still some differences between Washington and Seoul and how to deal with China. That's a pretty significant concern in China about how the United States is handling China and how the United States wants Korea to play in that very, very dangerous game with China. We will have, of course, a summit between President Trump and President Xi tomorrow, and the outcome of that may have some impact, may have some positive impact on how Korea perceives that particular issue in the bilateral relationship with Washington. So all in all, very positive atmospherics, some good photos, good photo opportunities. There was a good feeling, I think, between the two leaders. But let's see, once again, the details of this trade agreement, and let's also see how these other problems and difficult areas in the relationship plays out in the coming weeks and months.
Definitely. So even though there's still gaps, the developments today definitely seem to be noteworthy. Speaking of which, let's get into the latest deal, Dr. Go. So President Trump declared that the deal has been reached at the banquet, and the figures are actually staggering. $200 billion in face investment and another $150 billion in shipbuilding industry cooperation. So what does this structure actually tell us about the priorities and the limitations on Seoul's side, Dr. Go?
Well, clearly, President Trump came to Korea with one single goal in mind, which is to extract some sort of concession from Korea, maximize the amount of investments that Korea would commit to ensure that the American manufacturing gets revived again. So I think the contentious point here was how much cash South Korea ought to pony up. And before the meeting, the summit in Gyeongju, the terms that are being revealed in the press was that the United States was pushing for at least $25 billion of commitment per year over an 8-year period, whereas South Korea was saying that the maximum that South Korea can afford will be $7 billion per year. So there's clearly a huge gap between the U.S. and the South Korean position in this regard. So the final settlement, we know that the information is still forthcoming. This is very fresh. The Chief of Staff of the Korean President's Office just revealed that this is the terms of the agreement. But there are a lot of gaps here, so we have to speculate in order to fill up the gaps. So it looks like South Korea compromised regarding the overall annual payments that would go to the United States. So instead of $7 billion, which is clearly a very low baseline, South Korea has agreed to raise that up to $20 billion, which is close to what the United States wanted. But in exchange, I believe the United States compromised with the overall length or duration of these installments, and because I think United States' initial position was that South Korea ought to complete the payment or like transfer of the $350 billion over 8 years. But South Korea was asking for 10 years. But now the deal seems like South Korea would pay at most $20 billion per year. That's the maximum term. So if there's some sort of financial instability in the Korean exchange market, foreign exchange market, then South Korea would be able to lower that payment. So that means that South Korea will be able to spread out the payments over probably a longer period than 10 years. So if that's in the case, then there's clearly a compromise from both sides. South Korea would pay more nominally per year, but then the overall payment will be spread out for a much longer period than the United States had asked initially. So it could be the double the duration that the United States said was the maximum tolerable for the United States, or acceptable for the United States, which is 8 years. So conceivably, this could go on for more than 10 years, 15, even 20. But again, this is a pure speculation because the announcement didn't really have all the details. So as Evan said, I think we have to wait out until more details emerge from this meeting. We should wait for the fact sheet that was promised by both sides regarding this agreement. So from that, we'll be able to make a definite judgment and evaluation of this agreement.
Right. We will be able to look into the details soon. Now, speaking of which, this package that we're saying, it appears to be designed not just to address the economic demands, but also to kind of reassure the U.S. while minimizing blowback in Seoul and abroad as well. So, Mr. Revere, in your view, how does this agreement reflect Seoul's broader diplomatic strategy towards Washington?
Well, it's been a long and difficult road, if you will, for Korea to get to this point, and Korea and the United States to get to this point. The stalemate over the critical details and the U.S. demands went on for longer than anybody expected, and with good reason. South Korea had predictably been reluctant to agree to the massive investment demands by the United States. South Korea, I think, was particularly concerned that much of that amount that the United States was demanding would be in cash. South Korea was also concerned about U.S. pressure on Seoul to have the U.S. share in the profits of any of these projects that are being worked on and factories that are being built, despite the fact that the United States itself was not investing in these projects. So you can imagine that raised serious hackles on the part of many Koreans from all sorts of walks of life. So it's going to be very interesting to see the details as they trickle out in the coming days. Many analysts, including many American analysts, believed that the U.S. demands violated some fundamental rules of doing business. And many critics of the negotiating process also found that the U.S. demands also amounted to a sort of a forcible extraction of wealth from the ROK. As the price that Seoul, the Republic of Korea, had to pay for having exploited its past security and trade ties with the United States. Obviously, that narrative is not one that Koreans were happy with. And it's not surprising, therefore, that we've gotten to this point with South Korea having had a lot of difficulty accepting the logic of the U.S. position. Because the logic was based on an interpretation of the past relationship that Seoul just could not and would not agree with. But we are where we are. We seem to have a deal of some sort. Dr. Go has suggested, and as we've discussed so far, we need to see the details here, because in so many of the other agreements that the United States has concluded, trade agreements with others, there is often a lot less than meets the eye. When you look into the details, and very often a lot of the details have actually not been agreed. So I'm being very cautious as I try to analyze what is actually going to happen as a result of this deal.
Right, definitely. So we'll really have to see on how the details will be revealed. But we cannot really not talk about shipbuilding because it's a big part of this latest deal. It's called MASCA, and Trump described it as a cornerstone of the renewed ROK-U.S. industrial cooperation. So, Dr. Go, given how visibly he was willing to, elevate this industry cooperation, how should we interpret MASCA in the broader context of, bilateral alliance? Yeah,
first of all, the acronym MASCA was authored by Koreans. So I even know the author of this term. Actually came from an official at the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Resources. So MASCA stands for the Make American Shipbuilding Great Again. And clearly President Trump loved the term and he's using it. But then in a more serious note, I think MASCA is essentially an implementation of what had been discussed for so long, which was to elevating U.S. ROK alliance to something more comprehensive, something more that goes beyond the military alliance to something that encompasses a lot more different areas, and clearly including the industrial cooperation. So having said that, I think MASCA is really about a naval alliance between South Korea and the United States. President Trump is not looking for expanding U.S. commercial shipbuilding. That's already done. The United States will never have a competitive edge in that domain. But what the United States needs right now is to maintain the superiority in the naval capabilities. And we're talking about the United States and South Korea working together in strengthening U.S. naval capability, meaning the naval ships, military ships. So that's an elevation of the alliance to a degree that both South Korea and the United States didn't foresee 10 years ago. So, and in fact, this is a realization, and it's a comprehensive partnership that was discussed a lot in paper, but now we are seeing the fruitions of it. And this is, I think, another reason why China sanctioned the major South Korean manufacturer in shipbuilding, Hana Ocean, I think a couple of weeks ago. And the reason is the same. I think China is concerned that when you combine the U.S. strategic direction with South Korean capability, that's going to undermine the Chinese strategy in the Indo-Pacific. So clearly, this is it's a very significant change for the better for the alliance.
So So it may sound symbolic, but there's real strategic weight behind this latest deal. Now, let's also touch upon the North Korea dynamic, Dr. Go. So there was speculation that President Trump might meet North Korean leader Kim Jong-un during his visit, but it didn't actually materialize. So, but North Korea actually held a cruise missile test a couple of days ago. How would we interpret North Korea's move?
Well, hindsight is always 2020, but clearly North Korea tested the cruise missile on the eve of President Trump's visit to send a signal that they are not really interested in meeting President Trump under present conditions. So I think President Trump really went out of his way to entice North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to the negotiations or into dialogue by essentially coming up with a new variation of a nuclear state, or so-called nuclear power. Doesn't hold any significant legal meaning. I think the magic word here is a nuclear weapon state, which is an official term to characterize the 5 nuclear states that are, legally speaking, are allowed to have nuclear weapons. So President Trump very cleverly didn't use that term. Instead, he used a variation that, which is nuclear power, which is really meaningless. And I think North Koreans knew what kind of game they are getting into. I think that's why they stayed out. But at the same time, I think for Kim Jong-un, this is a very tantalizing moment because he knows that President Trump is probably the only sitting U.S. president who will ever be disinterested in speaking to North Korea. And I think President Trump's influence is going to, I think it's at the Senate right now. So given the political changes that could take place next year around the midterm elections in November in 2026, President Trump's interest and focus on North Korean matters could just evaporate. So I think North Korea clearly knows what's going on politically, domestically with President Trump at home. So I think if they decided not to speak to or meet with President Trump, they must have decided this at the last minute because this was a very tantalizing opportunity. Even though the payoff wouldn't have been that great, and I think we are all aware of that. But nonetheless, I think this is one chance that they had that could possibly go for the Hail Mary and get what they wanted for all this time, which is to be recognized as some sort of a nuclear state by the United States.
Right. But like Dr. Go has mentioned, considering that the APEC Summit could have been a window for U.S.-North Korea re-engagement, Mr. Revere, what do you make of the prospects for dialogue moving forward, especially with this opportunity appearing to kind of slip away?
I don't think what just happened or what just didn't happen in terms of a U.S.-North Korea meeting, I don't think that really has changed the dynamic here. Let me suggest that it's very clear that Donald Trump is deeply interested, almost to an embarrassing degree, in meeting with Kim Jong-un and resuming bilateral talks. But what's less clear is his preparedness to meet the 2 de facto conditions that the North Korean leader has put on the table. That Trump would have to meet before these talks can be resumed. One of those is that any dialogue between the United States and North Korea not mention denuclearization. And then, of course, the other condition is the de facto acceptance of North Korea as a nuclear weapon state. However, whatever magic words that the United States and North Korea come up with to do that. President Trump seems to be edging towards agreeing to the second point, i.e. that North Korea is a de facto nuclear weapon state, although he's very carefully avoided the use of that specific term. But it's much less clear whether he is capable of accepting the first point, i.e. that any discussion between the two cannot mention denuclearization. But here we are. We're at a point now where President Trump is signaling very, very strong eagerness to meet with Kim Jong-un, and the South Korean government. The South Korean president is bending over backwards to urge that such a meeting take place And for North Korea, this is actually a very good situation because you've got the United States and the ROK making these constant appeals to North Korea to meet. And we also see the rhetoric of the United States and South Korea moving in a direction that I think the North Koreans are probably very pleased with. So despite the fact that the meeting didn't take place, I continue to think that the likelihood of an encounter between the American president and the North Korean leader is quite high.
There's still room for dialogue in the future. Right. Then, Mr. Revere, let's shift a little bit to the upcoming talks between President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping on the 30th. So high-level talks have reportedly produced a broad consensus. So do you expect a final agreement to emerge smoothly from the summit?
Well, there's always a lot less than meets the eye in Donald Trump's deals, as he calls them. The general absence of details and fine print in so many of the agreements that he's concluded with other countries and other entities often suggests that not as much has been achieved as has been claimed. But it does seem clear that both President Trump and President Xi want to try to lower the level of bilateral tension between Washington and Beijing and ease, if they can, to some degree, their trade-related conflict. So I think we're likely to see the two agree on a framework for improved relations when they meet tomorrow. They're signaling as such now. But whether such an agreement is going to actually lead to better relations, I think that's a big question. There's a tremendous strategic rivalry between the two. There's a lot of enmity on a number of points between the two. There's a lot of mistrust between Washington and Beijing. So we will have to just wait and see whether whatever happens tomorrow, and I think there's likely to be some sort of a positive outcome of the meeting, but whether that actually leads to the substantive and fundamental change in the relationship that we all hope for, I think is a big and open question.
Right. In fact, the whole world will be watching for some positive results coming tomorrow. Now, we are also awaiting a talk for South Korea-Chinese talks in the next days. So, Dr. Go, what kind of diplomatic strategy do you think Seoul should pursue to get some meaningful results?
Well, I think President Lee came to office espousing his brand of diplomacy called the so-called pragmatic diplomacy, meaning that he will prioritize national interests over ideology, which actually implied that South Korea would be friendly both with the United States and China at the same time. But then it's increasingly clear that that's not the case. I think South Korea is completely siding with the United States, and then that was also the case the summit that took place today. In the open session before the meeting turned into a closed session, President Lee, in fact, made a request to President Trump for the transfer, or actually granting South Korea access to nuclear fuel to develop South Korea's own nuclear-propelled submarines. And he justified the necessity of nuclear-propelled submarines for South Korea by saying that South Korea needed them to deploy them in the Yellow Sea as well as the East Sea. And the Yellow Sea is the domain, and then he even mentioned the reason was because South Korean submarines would have to actually follow or pursue Chinese submarines. So this is very explicit statement, I think, putting South Korea firmly on the side of the United States. And we are talking about nuclear-propelled submarines, which makes this echo, the whole episode echoes the AUKUS agreement between the United States, Australia, and the United Kingdom. That treaty is not just about transfer of technology to Australia, technology here being the nuclear submarine technology. This is a strategic alliance between the three countries to contain China. So we're talking about the same matter here, transfer of a nuclear submarine technology to South Korea. And the purpose of the transfer is to counter Chinese threats near the Korean Peninsula. So I think this message is very loud and clear and probably was heard by the Chinese. And I think it's going to be reflected on the Chinese interaction with South Korea in the coming days. And I think the conclusion is preordained. I think the Beijing is going to conclude that South Korea under President Lee is just as pro-American as any South Korean administration before. So I think that's going to, characterize the tone of our bilateral relations with Beijing.
Right, so we'll be able to see how that direction would go in a couple of days. But as for now, we'll have to conclude our discussion here. Thank you so much for your insights, Dr. Go.
My pleasure.
And Mr. Revere, we really appreciate it.
You're quite welcome.
And that'll be all from us on Within the Frame. Be sure to tune in again next time as we continue to explore the stories that matter. Till then, stay informed and engaged.